Location, the Batcave. Time, 7:03 p.m. Peter suddenly stirred but discovered immediately that he could not really move his body. It was almost as if he was bound in his legs and arms. Soon after, Peter discovered that he was actually bound. The scenery before him looked a little bit strange. Then he figured out that this was because he had not. The memories of the previous incidents started rushing into his head, and soon he remembered everything. He remembered entering the portal that Mr. Negative opened. He remembered saving Young. He remembered helping out Batman to defeat the Joker. And lastly, he painfully remembered the fact that he was knocked out by the Vigilante. "Good, you're awake," Batman's voice said behind Peter. But the web-slinger could not quite see him because he was bound. However, that was soon solved as Batman came into his line of vision. Batman then leaned towards him and told him that he had some questions for him. When Peter made a joke about the whole thing looking very shady, and Batman did not laugh, he swallowed in reflex. Batman explained to him that he had picked up otherworldly signals from him, so he needed to know what he was doing in his world. "So, shall we begin?" Batman said as he cracked a smile. That was the first time that Peter had seen him actually smile, and it was quite painful to see. Location, Batcave. Time, 18 months later. Peter looked back at the past few months with mixed emotions, when he remembered how menacing and frightening Batman had appeared to him. However, Peter had seen right through Bruce now. He saw that he was actually a good man with a kind heart, who wanted to really protect his city. Peter knew that Batman did not like that he discovered this, because the web-slinger had zero fear for Bruce now, and that was a very bad thing. Peter made all sorts of jokes and pranks to piss Bruce off, and Alfred was in support of it, but secretly, of course. Alfred had also developed a liking to Peter, and they bonded so much that Peter felt Batman had gotten a little jealous. This made Peter and Alfred double their antics. In that sinister, ultimately, Spider-Man was grateful that he had found a home here, but anytime he remembered MJ and his home planet, he felt a huge guilt. Peter felt guilty because it felt as if he was cheating on MJ and his city. He hated that he was separated from her and them. He thought about them every day. This line of thought made Peter remember that fateful day that Batman delivered the devastating news to him. Before he could stop himself, he had already been plunged into memory lane. After the interrogation, Batman declared that Peter was telling the truth. He had been using a lie detector all this while to interrogate him. Plus, Batman had also looked keenly for physical cues, and his experiments had shown that Peter was not from this reality because his body's readings did not match. Batman had let Peter go, and immediately he came up with a theory based on what Peter had told him. He told Peter that the portal machine, which was meant to attract things, suddenly became the opposite and started sucking things into different realities because of Mr. Negative's powers. In other words, Peter was here because of Mr. Negative's powers. After this, Batman had told him that because of this, he had both good news and bad news. When asked which one he wanted to hear first, Peter requested the good news. Batman told Peter that because this whole situation of traveling to another reality was due to Mr. Negative's powers, it meant that time will actually go much slower in his home reality, so that if he goes back soon, it would be as if he never left. Peter felt much better after that news. However, he suddenly remembered the bad news. When he asked Batman to proceed with the details of the bad news, Peter could tell from his expression that it was really bad. However, Bruce proceeded to divulge the information to him because he felt Peter deserved to know. "You are dying," Batman had told him. Peter really did not feel shock. In fact, what Batman had told him felt like a confirmation of his worst fears. Peter had started feeling sore, and breathing got very difficult and hard. Batman told him that the only thing that kept him alive this long was his healing factor. Even though it was not very fast, Peter in fact knew that he had a healing factor because injuries and damages to his body took less time to heal than the average man. After that, Batman had subsequently worked day and night for a way to send Peter back, but that was proving very difficult and almost impossible. So instead, he then directed his energy towards keeping him alive. Finally, he had a breakthrough. Batman found a way to stabilize Peter's condition. Mr. Negative's powers and the whole portal situation had a deteriorating condition on Peter, but Batman invented a bracelet that balanced everything. However, it came at a cost. The bracelet's function was to maximize Peter's healing factor to the point that it canceled the deteriorating effect of Mr. Negative's powers. The cost of this was Peter's abilities, however, as the bracelet drew its powers from his remaining abilities. This meant that Peter could no longer be Spider-Man. Peter could not complain though because Batman had saved his life. However, since then, Peter had gotten this uncatchable itch to leap off buildings, feel the wind rushing through his face as he leaped off buildings, and also save and defeat bad guys. Unfortunately, he could no longer do this. So, over the next months, Peter had settled into helping Batman and saving the city of Gotham from the Batcave. He was always directing Batman and surveying for dangers from drones and cameras. Also, his quick brain had been used to crack some cases, even though Batman would not give him credit. That was how life had been for Peter, but things were about to change. Location: Batcave. Time: 7:51. Peter and Alfred had just gotten very bad news. Bruce Wayne had been captured by Tiger mercenaries and put into Arkham City, which was a secured and out-of-bounds prison for criminals. Peter had suddenly wanted to go and save Batman, but Bruce warned against it. He told Peter that he would be fine. Alfred had subsequently gone to drop off Batman's kits so he could assume the role of the vigilante in Arkham Asylum. Peter was then directed to look into the head of the whole operation, Hugo Strange. This was because Hugo had revealed he knew that Bruce Wayne was Batman. Even though Peter was not happy with it, he started digging up intel on Hugo Strange as Batman stepped into the world of chaos and crime in the city of Arkham. Location: Gotham City. Time: 10:20. Even though Peter had agreed to stay put, once Batman was captured by the Penguin, he decided that he could not take it anymore. He quickly suited up and went after him. Alfred tried to restrain him, but Peter would not allow it. The web-slinger equipped his shooters and took off. He immediately removed the bracelet but kept it on himself even as he felt his powers return back to him. It felt good to feel the rush of the wind on his face again. Peter felt really alive. He heard gasps of shock and surprise as the people of Gotham saw him swing past them. If they were surprised, Peter could not imagine the surprise on Batman's face when he got to Penguin's hideout to save him. "Let's do this," Peter screamed, as he rapidly made his way to Arkham City. Location: Penguin's hideout. It turned out that Batman was not in any way happy to see Peter. In fact, he really did not need Peter's help at all. Batman had just taken care of Penguin by himself. He then proceeded to scold Peter and warn him of the implications of what he just did. He told Peter that because he had used the bracelet for a long time to forestall the effects of Mr. Negative's powers, the rate of his deterioration had greatly increased now to catch up. However, this fact did not deter Spider-Man. He still wanted to help. Batman shook his head in frustration, but came up with an idea. He told Spider-Man to still continue in his mission of finding more about Hugo Strange, as Alfred had found him in a location called the Wonder Tower. Batman then told Spider-Man that he and Mr. Freeze would visit an old friend called Ra's al Ghul to get his blood for the antidote. Apparently, the Joker's Titan venom was very poisonous, and the Joker was terminally ill. Being the madman that he was, he had infected multiple hospitals with his blood and the Titan serum. Batman and Mr. Freeze were looking to get the antidote, and Ra's al Ghul's blood was the only thing they could think of that would serve as the final ingredient for it. This was because the antidote was unstable. The situation was also pretty urgent and time-conscious, because Batman had been infected too. The Joker had infected him with his blood. After debriefing Spider-Man, Batman sent him on his way, while he and Mr. Freeze went on theirs. Location: Wonder Tower. It was so easy finding the Wonder Tower. The hard part, however, was getting in. Spider-Man had to go through some goons, and he kind of had a hard time because he was getting used to his powers again after being without them for so long. However, when Spider-Man finally got in, what he discovered shocked him. Protocol 10 was all about destroying criminals in Arkham City. Spider-Man, of course, refused to let that happen. He immediately knocked Hugo Strange out and stopped him from commencing Protocol 10. He was about to web him up when suddenly something happened. "How dare you?" a voice said at his back, and Peter swiftly turned. The voice identified itself as Ra's al Ghul, and Peter was stunned. Luckily, Alfred and Batman could hear in on his conversation because he was wired. Peter was surprised. Last he had heard from Batman, they had gotten Ra's al Ghul's blood and had created the antidote, but it was stolen by Harley Quinn. Batman was currently at Joker's location right now to get back the antidote. Ra's al Ghul then revealed that Protocol 10 was his plan all along. He told Peter that he was the mastermind behind all of it, but unfortunately, since Peter had discovered his secret, he would have to die. Spider-Man then made it clear to him that Batman now knew about everything too, and this angered Ra's al Ghul. Immediately, Hugo Strange started to stir, and Ra's al Ghul was very irritated and angry at him. He told Hugo that once he was done killing Spider-Man, he would eliminate him next because he had failed to destroy Batman. Once this was said to Hugo, Spider-Man's spidey sense went haywire. Then suddenly, he spotted it. Hugo had pressed a button. Soon, Hugo Strange revealed that he had initiated Protocol 11, which was the self-destruction of the Wonder Tower. "I knew I should have webbed you up," Spider-Man said as he snagged both Hugo and Ra's al Ghul, and started running to escape the destruction of the building. However, before he knew it, Ra's al Ghul cut off the web, and both he and Hugo Strange were left to their deaths. Spider-Man could not do anything to save them, as he had already leapt off the building before he discovered that they were no longer with him. "Situation report, Peter. Are you okay?" Batman's voice said, as it blasted through the speaker in his ear. Peter responded after a few seconds, and later he got on the move again. Batman had sent him coordinates of where to meet him. Peter was sad. Location: Monarch Theater. Everything moved so fast, but all Batman could do was to be grateful to Peter. Talia had been kidnapped by Joker, who seemed to have taken the antidote because he suddenly got very well and healthy. However, that was Clayface, the shapeshifter posing to be Joker instead. So, when Talia had killed Clayface thinking it was Joker, she had almost met her end too, as the real Joker came after her, seeking to kill her unexpectedly. However, that was when Spider-Man came in the nick of time. He immediately kicked Joker off before landing and reuniting with Batman. It was now Joker and Clayface against the three of them. Joker immediately told Clayface to keep them busy while he heads over to revive himself using the Lazarus Pit. However, Batman was having none of that. He immediately sent Spider-Man after him while he and Talia took on Clayface. Batman quickly took a portion of the antidote and smiled as he regained back his strength. It was time to end it all. The battle was fierce and spirited, but also short, because Batman and Talia proved to be too much for Clayface. Soon after they defeated him, they went to reunite with Spider-Man to defeat the Joker. However, they saw a horrifying sight. Spider-Man was winning the fight until suddenly, he gave out a huge gasp of air and collapsed. This gave an opening to Joker, who ran to the Lazarus pit, but Talia swiftly went, knocked him out, and subsequently restrained him. Batman went over rapidly to Spider-Man's body, and his worst fears were confirmed. Peter was dying because of the effects of Mr. Negative's powers. The brave man had risked his life to save him and a lot of other criminals. Truly, he was a hero. Suddenly, Batman had an idea. He immediately told Alfred to bring down the portal machine he had been working on for Peter's departure. The machine had been completed, but it lacked a sufficient energy source. Batman had tried everything he could lay his hands on, but it failed. However, now he wanted to try using the Lazarus pit. Alfred immediately went on speed mode, and in the fastest time possible, everything was set. Quickly now, before he dies, Batman screamed to Alfred, and Peter's body was thrown into the machine, which was then embedded in the Lazarus pit. Soon, there was a great churning, and suddenly, Peter disappeared. It had worked. Batman had sent him back to his universe. He just hoped that he made it back alive.